What is up, everybody? Tyler here with TCG University for the card game UniVersus, and today I'm going to be doing a deck profile on the Air Byakko deck that I did for this week's Symbol Showdown Campus Championship. This Campus Championship, we all got to pick a symbol, and nobody else got to play under that symbol. And I picked Air, and I picked the Byakko because I had a real cool idea that I think is like really good, actually. And I built that, and it was a lot of fun. So if you want to see this deck in action, make sure you go check that out. It's under a playlist called Symbol Showdown. I believe that's the name of it. I haven't looked right now, but that's what I kept calling it, so I'm just going to assume that it is. Sorry, Tam, if it isn't. Oops. So without further ado, though, let's hop into this Air Byakko deck. Alright, so let's talk about Byakko first and what he does and why I built this deck. So what I really wanted to do with this Byakko card, or with this Byakko deck, was mess around with this first ability of once per turn, if you have 30 or more cards in your discard pile, stack the top card of your deck. I thought that is awesome for draw, because like, if you're like, oh man, I'll draw one card, I get to pick what I want to draw. And it's very strong under Air because of cards like Fog Blanket, which we're going to talk about in a second. But also, everything getting +2 damage or +3 damage, because there's a +2 or a +3 or sometimes a +5 because you're Byakko. Foundation in your staging area means that like all these attacks are getting huge. And he flips all of my opponent's foundations just like casually for free, because you're just discarding 3 to flip one of my opponent's foundations. It's awesome, because like, oh man, they can't really do anything against these really big attacks that I'm slinging because they don't have any answers in their staging area. I like it a lot. I think Byakko is really, really good. I think that his biggest problem is, of course, that he's a 5-hander, but this deck works around that very well. This deck draws a lot of cards, and I think that there's some viability there. I've always liked Byakko a whole lot, and it was a lot of fun actually getting to see how he plays. So let's talk about the first thing. What I built this sort of deck around is Fog Blanket. Now, Fog Blanket says combo with a 3-speed attack, and all these attacks have 3 speed. You get to discard a card from one card from your card pool, and draw a card. So with Byakko, you say, well, I'll play whatever attack with 3 speed. I'll play Fog Blanket. I'll Byakko, stack this Fog Blanket on top of my deck. I'll combo, discard this, draw this Fog Blanket, and then play a Fog Blanket. And then I'll combo again, discard this, draw whatever. I don't get to stack it this time, but that's fine. I just stun forged you and drew 2 attacks, or drew 2 cards, which is amazing. And all the attacks sort of like to draw stuff or are very, very big. So it works out really well. I think Fog Blanket right now has a place in the meta, and I think this deck utilizes it very well. Also, like, plus a few extra damage on top of +5 damage from Byakko is very, very good, especially on a stun to attack. And you can give it a little bit of speed here and there with some of his foundations, but it's just a bunch of free damage. Very nice. The next card I want to talk about is Segaki Offering. Check a 4 draw card. Amazing in a 5-hander. You don't get a stack with Byakko, but you do just get to draw a free card every time you play it, which is very needed. And sometimes when you get 2 of them, you can play one, draw a card, play a second one if they try to block it, because they probably should, because it's +5 damage with Byakko because you're playing massive size, and 3 high for 11 is easy to block, but 2 of them isn't. And you being able to discard whatever they block with for plus speed and a little bit extra damage is pretty all right. I like it a whole lot. The next card we're going to be talking about is Gyro Crush. I really like this card a lot, and it's amazing in Byakko because this card just says draw 1 as cost. So you get a stack with whatever you want with Byakko and then draw it, and they can't do anything about it. You are required to draw that card. There's nothing they can say about it. They can't really cancel it either, or they can't cancel the draw, and they can't do some stuff because you're not drawing it as an effect, you're drawing it as cost. You're required to do it, and so they can't touch it. And it's just a little bit extra damage, but draw as cost is very good. Like it draw this fog blanket that I stacked is perfect for it. That's why I have this in the deck. I was very excited to play this card. It's an old card, so it doesn't get a whole lot of play, but I like it a whole lot. The next ones we're going to be talking about aren't necessarily about drawing cards, but they are about getting real big. So Borgai's Fang, pretty much no matter what, you're going to have a 2 difficulty foundation either in your staging area or your opponent's staging area. So every single time this card is out, it's going to get +2 damage minimum. And because it's getting +2 damage, usually +3, +5 damage, it's also going to get a +5 speed. So it's very big, and it's going to go through, and they can't block with character cards if that's relevant at all, which is awesome for a mid-block attack. But mainly it's in here because it's a bunch of damage and a bunch of speed for free. Along with that, in the same exact vein, we're playing Tiger Claw. It's the exact same thing. It's +5 speed, +5 damage, except this has a block, it has Breaker 1, and it flips a foundation. It's a slightly better Borgai's Fang because it's also a 3 diff, but why not play 2 attacks that are 8 highs for 8s, or 8 mid for 8s, They can't deal with it all. So yeah, this is the exact same thing, and a little bit more flip, just casually is very good in the deck, especially since we're playing Thunderous Roar, which says that for every one of their flip foundations, it's extra speed. So it's a bunch of damage with a bunch of speed, all going through, and you get to draw a whole bunch of cards, and it's hard to deal with. And then the last one we're going to be talking about is Massive Blow. This is just a real big attack. It has +5 speed on 8 damage, and you get discard cards to flip another one of their foundations. Amazing. It's casual flip. It's not something that you're trying to do, but doing it is just bonus. And you get +2 with powerful rating. So this deck doesn't have a whole lot of stuff that it uses momentum for. So like +5 damage after another +5 damage just by Byakko on an 8 damage attack is huge. You get to really hit somebody hard with it, or at the very least you make it so that they have to deal with it. That is all the attacks. A lot of the thing is draw. Next we're going to be talking about actions and assets. Along with the draw thing that we're trying to do, we're going to be playing 4 Let's Cut Loose. This is just draw 2 basically, and one of them you get a pick. Early game, you play a Massive Blow. You're like, I'm not going in this turn, but I have a Let's Cut Loose and I have a Massive Blow. Yeah, I'll give this +3 damage because it's early game. You have to deal with it. While you're at it, I'm going to play this, make sure I get 2 foundations, build a little bit. Being a 5-hander, it's hard to do, so that little bit extra is very, very good early game. Let's Cut Loose is just like a staple card. It is, in my opinion, the best action in the game. It's just very, very good, especially in a 5-hander. And then we're playing one Atron Nirvana. I hella messed up that first name, but oh well. Being a 5-hander, it's hard to build out. Being able to ready something every single turn is great, especially when sometimes what you ready is Thunderous Roar, and giving 1,000,000 speed on 2 attacks is very good. And being able to cancel something that you don't like is also good, I have a whole bunch of life and I can use it, but I don't want you to get a whole bunch of advantage by like discarding 5 momentum for powerful, It's just not something I want to deal with. And that's all the actions and assets we're playing. Next, we're going to be talking about the foundations. The first group of foundations that I'm going to show you guys is what I would consider to be the aggressive part of the deck. These are all things that sort of give you bonuses and make sure that all your attacks either get really, really big or go through. The first one is the second Saintly Beast. Now, I can definitely see why this might be considered a defensive foundation, but I was using it mostly all the time for +2 speed. A 5 speed attack with a +5 damage is very, very good. And when you have multiple out, you just get to make sure that something goes through. I always use this. Oh, I used it on defense too, of course, but being a 5-hander, blocking isn't like your number one priority. when you get to do it, it's great. And when you get to do it, it's very needed, but you don't get to do it a lot. So just being able to use these on one attack because you had to build a little bit more than other characters is really needed. And all you really need to do is block that one attack, really. Especially if it's a big attack, giving it -6 speed is perfect. It's all that you need. And it has Breaker 1, so if you need to block with it, it's a little bit extra bonus. Next is Massive Size. Now, this is great in Byakko because it has 5 difficulty, so it makes sure that every attack is getting +5 damage. And then you can commit for another +5 damage. +10 damage on something is crazy, especially when your opponent can't deal with something because it has extra speed, or because you've played a bunch of attacks, because you've drawn a whole bunch, and because you stacked what you're going to draw. This card is needed in the deck, and it has a +2 block modifier, which is pretty alright. Also, it 9 times out of 10 counts as a 3 difficulty foundation, because most of the time you're going to have more vitality than your opponent. There's 2 characters now in the game that have more vitality than you, and unless they've hit you a whole bunch, you're almost always going to be ahead of them. But you shouldn't be playing. You probably aren't playing this pretty late in the chain anyways, or pretty late in the game anyways, so that doesn't really come into effect. Next, Thunderous Roar. This card is amazing. You casually flipping all of your opponent's foundations, and then this saying, I'll give +5 speed on something. Awesome. Oh, I have 30 cards in my discard pile. It's actually +10 speed. Oh, I have Nirvana out. Well, I'll give something +10 speed already. I'll give another thing +10 speed, and they all got +5 damage or +3 damage is fine enough. It's all going to go through, and you're going to just die quickly because of it. And then the last sort of aggressive foundation is Hellward Bound. It's not extraordinary aggressive, but it is a 3 difficulty, which means Byakko gets +3 damage. You can flip it to discard a card from your card pool if need be, if you've drawn a whole bunch of attacks and you really need to pop off. And because you're milling out your whole deck, after the mill, being able to say, well, I'll remove this for 3 speed, 6 damage is pretty all right, especially with Thunderous Roar being in the game, and 3 speed, 6 damage, commit for another +4, 5 speed, and then being able to give +5 damage with Byakko because you have Massive Size out is just going to kill somebody. That's just an insane amount of damage that is going through. That's all the aggressive foundations. The next group is what I would consider the I'm a 5-hander, so I don't have a whole lot of foundations, so these are to help me out with that. That is what this category is called. First one we're going to be talking about is Tijuana Groceries. Removing foundations from your discard pile to ready this is great. It means that early game, you don't have to worry about building so much because you get to ready this up, and you can not be so concerned with committing all your foundations to past checks because you get to just ready it back up. It's an easy card to play. Along the same vein, this is what all these are, is they all ready themselves for free. Or does something sort of like that. Hell's Reach, I think, is a staple in any of these symbols. It's a very, very easy card to just play because committing it doesn't matter because you get to flip and ready it, It's a free ready foundation on an extremely spammable foundation because it's a 0 diff. And then Wandering Pirate, it's the exact same thing. You get to ready something after it's committed. So you get to make sure that committing foundations isn't so detrimental in a 5-hander by making sure that all your foundations ready themselves back up. And then not ready foundations necessarily, but getting more foundations, building out more foundations with Forbidden Technique is really good too. And if need be, you can block with it because it has a +2 block modifier and has Breaker 1, and after you block with it, or after you play it in general, you get a ready a face down foundation. I like it a whole lot. This is actually one of my favorite foundations in the game. I really love it. But we're playing a lot of 3 diffs, and it's a 3 diff in itself, so I didn't want to play more of it. It gets a little bit scary. You still need to consider what you're playing, That's all of our ready foundations because of a 5-hander, and I don't have a lot of build category. Next, we're going to be talking about the defensive pieces in the deck. The first defensive piece is going to be Journey West. This one says, hey, I have 38 vitality. I don't care if this attack goes through. I'm going to flip, make sure that your next one isn't going through. Just flip plus difficulty to their next attack means that you get to play with your 38 vitality a little bit. You can take a few hits. You can take one or two. It doesn't matter. You're going to kill them next turn. Along with that, energy absorption. This definitely needed to be a 4 of in the deck. I have not had a chance to play Byakko before, so I did not know the importance of energy absorption, but gaining vitality from unblocked attacks is crazy good. Having 4 of these out means that whenever you get hit, every attack gets -4 damage, basically. On top of that, you can discard cards for minus damage as well. So I'll give it -4 damage because I have 2 of these out, and then I'll gain 2 vitality back after it deals less damage than it would have. It's great. It's amazing. It definitely should have been at a 4 of. Evil Eye. This is just a speed reset. I don't have a whole lot of foundations to play with. Committing 1 to be able to flip it and reset something speed so that I can block it with the 1 or 2 cards that I have in my hand to block is very good. That's really just it. It's playable while committed, and it's a speed reset. It's what you need. Excuse me. The next one, dealing with speed as well as Conquest of Terror. It's spam. It's very good for speed. That's all you really need to know. This is a staple foundation in my mind. Anybody that can play these 3 symbols is going to be playing a few of these. This card needs to be on every deck list that are under these symbols. Get yourself some of these. It's staple. It's in every single Death, Air, and Void deck list that I've ever made since it's coming out. Same exact thing with H's and Y's. Any of these 3 symbols, playing this card says that your opponent doesn't get to mess with your foundations. They don't get to de-build you at all, which is insanely important in a 5-hander because you don't get very many foundations to begin with. So having this out is just like, man, sorry, man, you didn't get to do it. Perfect. It's great. It's, once again, a staple. So a little editor's note before I end the video. There were 2 cards that I just didn't include in this deck profile because I just didn't grab them because I'm a big dummy. I was playing 2 of Prideful Personality and a 4 of Aggressive Temper. They're just both a little bit of aggressive pieces in the deck. Prideful lets you draw 2 cards, which is amazing in a 5-hander when you can discard like something you don't need and draw an attack that you stack on top of the deck and whatever else. And Aggressive Temper is great because you're discarding 9 cards in a turn. So like +2/4 damage sometimes is just like real cool just for doing what you're already doing. So sorry I did not put those in the actual video, but they were both 25 cents for themselves, or that's what we're pricing them at, which brings the deck price total to $71.16. Thank you for watching. Here's my outro. There you have it, folks. That is my Air Byakko deck that I played for this week's Symbol Showdown Campus Championship. If you wanted to see this deck in action, you could definitely go out and look at that playlist that we have on the channel. It'll be under Symbol Showdown. I had a whole ton of fun playing this. I actually think Byakko is a good character. All right, he's a 5-hander with Earth, so people are saying he's a duty sandwich, but I disagree with that. I think a bunch of damage, flipping my opponent's foundations, controlling what I'm about to draw is all amazing. I like him a whole lot, and I think he definitely has a place in the meta. And, I hope that you try this out too, because I'm going to be trying out a different Byakko deck after this, because I think he actually has some viability, I like it a whole lot. I had a whole ton of fun playing this too. So if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, do all the fun stuff. Just liking the video is a huge help to us. It gets us recommended everywhere else, and it helps us grow the channel and, make sure that we can make more content, It's a huge help. If it's all you do, that's more than enough. We thank you for it. And if you want to check out this deck in action, check out the Symbol Showdown Campus Championship. But with that, thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful night.